Are co-streamers good or bad for League of Legends esports? And depending on who you ask, you'll get very different answers, which is kind of the whole problem. Now, before we get into the current drama specifically, a little bit of context. Co-streaming, for anyone not familiar, is when Riot themselves authorize a streamer or personality to broadcast the same games live on their personal channel, which is essentially offering an alternate commentary experience for the viewer. You're watching the same match and the same production, just with your favorite creator reacting to it rather than the official broadcast talent. And not only that, you're part of a community that shares in the memes and the jokes, and it's overall just a more relaxed, informal, and relatable viewing experience. You're not watching a caster explode on stream because of their rules and regulations, but co-streamers can do basically anything, which I guess is part of the appeal. Riot started rolling this out properly around 2021. The LCS was the first league to implement it, and by 2023, the LEC had followed suit due to its popularity. And since then, the list of approved co-streamers has grown to the point where at Worlds 2025, there were 120 authorized co-streamers across 18 different languages. And it's basically become a core part of how people consume League esports at this point, and not without metric reinforcement. By Q1 of 2025, co-streaming figures had surpassed official esports broadcast viewership for the first time ever, according to Stream Hatchet. The side broadcast is now bigger than the main one. And specifically, of course, Caedrel, who peaked at 422,292 viewers on his co-stream of the 2025 Worlds Final between KT and T1, which is genuinely insane. Now, following this change of system, even regular LEC weekend this year, Caedrel pulls around 33,000 viewers, while the official LEC English broadcast sat at around 12,000. So he's pretty much lapping the main broadcast at this point. Now, this all sounds great. More people watching League, more reach, more exposure, more numbers. Good thing. Except there's a massive catch, and it's basically the crux of this whole debate. The issue is a really rare one. Shocker, it's not really, it's money. But specifically, whose money it is and where does it go? Now, with the information forthcoming, I'm just stating the facts, not picking sides here. I'm just explaining how it is. It might seem that way with some of the things that I'm about to say, but it's literally just what's happening. When you watch Caedrel stream, for example, instead of the official LEC broadcast, Caedrel is monetizing that viewership. Obviously. Any subs, the donations, ad revenue, any sponsorships, whatever the case may be. But the thing with that monetization is co-streamers are getting the entire product for free and taking all the profits they generate from it. I mean, of course they are. They haven't had to give anything back up until now, technically. And this is the entire argument Sjokz has been making for a while now. And she does make a fair point from a financial perspective, but we'll get to more of Sjokz shortly because there's a lot going on with her. The production team behind a League broadcast is not free. It's the opposite in fact. It's very expensive. Franchise slots alone cost between 10 and 30 million USD, depending on when and where the organization's brought in, and orgs are making massive bets that the league around them will retain value. So if viewership is evaporating from the official product and consolidating on individual creator channels, those franchise investments start looking a fair bit shakier, and they're the main ones driving the league forward. Hell, I'd even say they're kind of keeping the league afloat. And there's even a version of this story where you just get a death spiral. Less official viewership means less attractive to sponsors, which means less revenue for production, which means worse production, which means even less viewership. And meanwhile, the co-streamer just doesn't see any of those negatives, and they just keep growing their personal audience because they're following for their personality and not the broadcast. But this is at no fault of the streamer. It's not like that they designed the model to be like this, it's literally just the way that it happens. Papa Smithy highlighted this same thing pretty early on in mid-2025 when the MSI talent situation came up. He said, quote, "The only independent variable of success is whether Caedrel turns on his co-stream or not," which is a pretty grim thing to have to say about the scene you've been part of for years. But of course, it's got merit. You wouldn't have said it otherwise. But none of this is new information. Two things happened recently that turned a simmering debate into a full-on wildfire. The first was ESL, who aren't even a part of the League eco, dropping their new 2026 co-streaming rules for Counter-Strike 2. And these rules are not chill. Co-streamers are required to use the official feed provided directly by ESL, with taking the feed from another source strictly prohibited. They're also only approved to stream on Twitch, with all other platforms like YouTube and TikTok barred without written exemption. And they're required to maintain uninterrupted coverage from start to finish, with switching away to other streams, or just gameplay, or opening cases, for example, or just chatting even, while the ESL tournament is live is strictly prohibited, which is kind of another big draw for co-streamers. Co-streamers will often obviously watch a video, discuss the game that just happened, play the game themselves, or read Reddit with the viewers until the next game goes live. So with these changes, the ESL basically said to the co-streamers, you're just a distribution hub for our product and you'll act like it. But many of the ESL fans already kicked up a fuss, as seen in these comments on your screen, so not a good start. But it became relevant to League when Sjokz picked this up with her statement and said ESL had dropped the hammer on co-streamers, and that it was time for other tournament organizers to do the same, noting that co-streamers are getting the entire product for free while taking all the profits and having none of the downside. She also reinforced what the ESL did with CS and said they need to be watching the broadcast in full and it should be the standard for all co-streamers across all esports. So with all this though, despite being essentially his peer, friend and co-worker, it sounds like she's against Caedrel because he's kind of one of the faces of co-streaming, but she's not. Upcoming is her original take, and after that are a few points of clarification because the hate she was getting was absolutely out of hand. Take a look at her original take and then her points of clarification about Caedrel specifically.
ESL just dropped the hammer on co-streamers in the same way that I think every company should. And this is something that I and many others have pitched a lot. Because remember, the co-streamers are getting the entire product for free, the entire product, and all of the profits that they get from it, right? That's the way I understand it at the very least. And then for them to like cut away at things that we've worked very hard on. And I know we're in this era of new internet and nobody gives a fuck about the classical broadcast, but we are trying. And the thing that we have a lot of, and that I think is like one of our trump cards, so to say, is that we do have direct access to players, and there is a lot of player-facing content that we brainstorm constantly. And for that to often be ignored, or the co-streamer to just not watch the interview or turn off after the game is done, etc., I just think that's so weird. Like, why would you let them do that? So like, I'm 100% behind what ESL is doing in the Counter-Strike space, and I don't think it should be, like, it's not going to take away from the co-stream, right? People will still, obviously, I know that people prefer watching co-streamers anyway, but like everywhere where we can make small gains is good. I think that at least I see our content, if it's not through our official channels or the official English channels, then at the very least it's through, let's say, Caedrel's channel, right? Because we get often told by them that we never do any player content when we do a lot of player content, or we try to at least, and I've made a different video about this as well, but we request so much more than you guys see. Yeah, I think the way Caedrel covers the leagues or does co-streaming in general is really, really nice. I mean, Caedrel is like, I said this before, but he's a unicorn. He's so good. He was so good at his job as a caster, and he is still very extremely good and better than his peers at being a co-streamer because he has insight that he delivers in such an amazing way on the live broadcast. So I really like the way he interacts with the live broadcast, but also has his own accents for sure. And I think he's like, I mean, he's really, really perfect, right?
Because a large portion won't see her TikToks, she also came out and clarified her position on Twitter, saying she's been on record multiple times saying the scene is lucky to have Caedrel and that he makes even the boring matches worth watching. Her point was never anti-co-streamer or anti-Caedrel, but being part of the broadcast team, it was just pro-broadcast. She spent 15 years trying to make broadcasts better for the viewer, and people were putting words in her mouth that she had never said. And she reinforced this point with, I am not your enemy. Okay, so that's one side of this, but here's the other side, and it's equally valid. Popular creators like Caedrel and Ohnepixel have repeatedly voiced their frustrations with current restrictions. Every time they want to react differently or check their phone or engage with their chat during a slow moment, they risk violating broadcasting agreements. And if you've ever watched a slow draft phase, a pause or a break, you understand why that feels hard for someone trying to put on an entertaining show. And Ohnepixel, the CS co-streaming equivalent of Caedrel, basically made this exact point by announcing that he'd be stepping back from co-streaming tournaments following the ESL changes. He said the rules were too restrictive and compromised the viewer experience he was trying to create, which is massive and makes total sense. They basically stripped everything that makes co-streaming good away.
It's I don't know, because I've done it with the last major reviewer there, and I just know that for myself I can't do that. But if if it's now needed, then it just is what it is. But I had a beautiful time, and I'm thankful for every single co-stream that I did. If you were there, started up, I was on 1 HP because I had to watch every single segment. And you can say that's the least you can do. Yes, I agree. But I just, for myself, that doesn't work because I feel like I'm sitting here like a bot and I can't move anything. Otherwise, I get, yo, you need to watch this. And I as well need to sometimes chill after looking at a game for 10 hours. Like I need to like talk with chat for a minute, put something on the screen, mute the stream for a minute, yap myself. I just know for me that I like the freedom, and that's why if they require it now, then it just doesn't work, and it is what it is, you know, and that's fine. That's in their right. That's in their right. I'm not mad at nobody, but it's in their right, but it is what it is.
Hell, even XQC had things to say about it all, saying people would rather watch Caedrel host a tournament of only Iron players playing on controller than the official broadcast. And honestly, I'd fucking watch. That sounds cinema.
But my gut feeling is that the 100,000 people that watch Caedrel used to watch the main broadcast and now don't watch the main broadcast.
Yo.
100,000
on at another 1v20 debate, Liquid held.
What?
But my gut
feeling is a gut feeling, get the fuck out. That's it. Boom. Boom. If you're gonna come on here and say, I have a gut feeling, then go back, sit somewhere else. Don't go to the middle and say your dumbass fucking.
which is terrible for sponsorship. All Caedrel does is screech over every single ad roll being played. Like, I don't even know how Riot is monetizing this shit anymore. And he used to be on the broadcast and left the broadcast because co-streaming was more popular. You're literally proving my point.
So this guy contradicts himself. So if he does it on his broadcast, it sucks it doesn't work, but he also is the guy that's making the broadcast S tier, so they want him back on the main fucking desk. Bro, come on, bro. Like, lock in.
Have to make it a net positive because otherwise the ecosystem is absolutely cooked. But I think that even if you ask the people at Riot if they could put Pandora back in the box, majority of people are putting that box closed instantly.
And like, if you want this to be a problem, you can make it a problem, right? But it isn't. People would rather watch Caedrel run his own tournaments where only fucking Iron players can play, okay, on a controller, okay, then watch the main LEC, LCS broadcast.
So this all happened, but then the FlyQuest dumpster fire happened. FlyQuest put out a YouTube video in collaboration with creator Turned Down for Wall titled Did Content Creators Bankrupt Esports? As one of its many titles it's had to try and make the video succeed. And this video discussed co-streaming as part of what essentially turned into a promotion for FlyQuest's own creators. The last 5-ish minutes of the video was just Fly talking about its own talent and what the org does for them and why they're so good and we should watch them.
Fans will say that they have no interest in watching games unless they're cast by somebody like Caedrel. But the reality is that the current economics just aren't working for anybody other than a few huge creators. They aren't working for Riot, they aren't working for teams, and they aren't working for the players, especially those outside of the Tier 1 system. Hell, they aren't even really working for most creators who aren't named Caedrel. Grim is the newest addition to FlyQuest's creator team. He's been uploading Valorant videos to YouTube for over 5 years, becoming known as one of the most creative Sage players in the game. He's not just a strong player, but he's great at making content that can connect with Valorant players and fans of all skill and engagement levels, which makes him exactly the kind of creator who fits what we need at FlyQuest. But in order for this relationship to work, FlyQuest also has to have something to offer Grim.
I would say FlyQuest brings Grim opportunity. We're giving him opportunity to do the content that he wants to do. If he comes with an idea and we say yes, he's going to execute it and he's going to do it with all of his heart, which is something that we really value with him.
And the timing and even the framing of the video just sent people. I Will Dominate called it a steaming pile of dog shit, and Caedrel went in on it too, reacting on stream and calling it shameless rage bait that was capitalizing on a broader conversation for the org's own benefit.
Co-streamers and content creators are bumping up the numbers, but are they actually adding value? Are they...
Zoom in on me. Are they actually adding value? Is there a dislike button? Thank you.
Creating more fans of League of Legends or Valorant or whatever game they're streaming, or are they just creating more fans of their own streams? For a long time, these more professional broadcasts were the...
I think that's actually like, it's such a stupid claim, I wouldn't even entertain it. The idea that no one has become more of a fan of like LPL because of me is such a stupid claim from FlyQuest that I can't even, it's like, really? You think no one started watching the LPL from my like, I had 900,000 followers before I started doing any co-stream related stuff, and you think no one actually enjoys LPL more because of me or got into watching the LPL because of me, and none of those like fans are now watching the LPL now that I'm no longer doing LPL content? It's so insanely idiotic. Like, whoever made this video is a fucking moron. We just have to throw that out there.
But my gut feeling is that the 100,000 people that watch Caedrel used to watch the main broadcast and now don't watch the main broadcast, which is terrible for sponsorship. All Caedrel does is screech over every single ad roll being played. Like, I don't even know how Riot is.
That is complete cap. I actually go out of my way on purpose to make sure the ads are watched, and I even like joke around them. Red Bull gives you wings, or I go, oh, during the fucking Secret Lab thing. I intentionally do that. I don't just screech over ads. Sure, I'll tune out of a game maybe, but then sometimes when I did the LCS co-streams, and I watched a game like C9 versus TL, and the game was fucking done, and then it was fucking, I don't know, Immortals versus fucking some random team, I would just turn off the stream and host them. That's it.
Now, the conversation about co-streaming's impact on the ecosystem is worth having, but making a promotional video about your own content team while framing co-streamers as the problem is a very specific type of move. It's kind of like, I don't know, a fast food chain making a documentary about the obesity epidemic, but saying buy our burger because it's good. But then the backlash from the FlyQuest video culminated in Caedrel going offline mid-broadcast during the LEC series between Shifters and G2, citing a toxic streaming atmosphere and the endless stream of negative phrases in his chat. And what happened when he went offline though is kind of the most revealing data point in this entire story. While Caedrel was live, he had 33,000 viewers and the official broadcast had 20,000 combined. And the moment his stream went down, the official broadcast jumped to 44,000. Jankos' stream also doubled during the same period. So what that tells you is some of his audience did migrate to the main broadcast, but also a meaningful chunk of people just stopped watching entirely. They weren't watching because of League, they were watching because of Caedrel, as a lot of us do actually. And when he wasn't there, League wasn't enough on its own to keep the viewers interested. So ironically, that's both the value of co-streaming and its problem summarized in the click of a going offline button. So the reality is the co-streaming debate is a financial and structural problem and not a personal one. Of course, Caedrel or Ohnepixel aren't doing anything wrong by being excellent at their job. Problem is that there's no framework that makes this sustainable for everyone. Caedrel himself has offered potential solutions, including a model where co-streamers can design and sell in-game items, creating a revenue stream that benefits Riot and streamers while aligning incentives. He said the current model isn't perfect, but it is strong. There's also been a Reddit proposal floating around that I think is actually pretty sensible from Arsh. Let the biggest co-streamers pay for licenses that grant them more creative freedom. They'd get the latitude to run their streams however they like, since they're paying for it, of course, and Riot gets proper compensation for the production value that's enabling those streams in the first place. That's also not a perfect solution, but it's a much more sophisticated approach than either ban everything or keep doing nothing. But the bottom line is co-streaming is not going away and it shouldn't. Unless the co-streamers quit, of course. A huge portion of the community has said co-streaming is literally the reason they watch games live, and removing it without replacing that engagement would be catastrophic for the viewership numbers that sponsors care so much about. Also, even the longevity of the game and their own community cultivation. But the current situation where massive creators are building their entire brand and income off the top of a broadcast infrastructure they contribute nothing back to is also clearly not sustainable long term. The scene can't really fund itself on vibes alone. Production costs money, talent costs money. If those things degrade, the product Caedrel streaming degrades, and we enter death spiral V2. The problem isn't co-streamers existing, it's that nobody's figured out a model yet where the value flows in both directions. And Riot probably needs to figure that out before it becomes urgent, because based on the LEC numbers, we needed a solution yesterday. Anyway, let me know what you think about all this down below. Do you watch the main broadcast, the co-streamer or co-streamers, or both? And if Riot put restrictions on co-streamers, would you still watch? I'd be really curious. As always, a sub goes a long way if you found this content valuable. But now, before we go, here's the only take that really matters, Bausy to sign the video off with. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Do you also think that Caedrel is singly alone destroying League? I saw some video that I didn't see the video, I didn't even bother clicking on it, but it was like Caedrel destroying LEC? If it wasn't for this is unpopular take. I don't even know if it's unpopular take, but I haven't heard of it before. I think without Caedrel, League esports would be dead. It would be in the ground in EU. LCK, LPL would still be alive, but LEC was gonna be dead. completely. NA is dead already. LCS, nobody watches that shit. That shit is completely garbage. And like people like to think that LEC would be any different. No. We were lucky we had Caedrel and some other very good people to keep the league alive. For real. NA is dog shit. Bro, you think EU is good? Fucking hell, I got some wins. Like, what are we talking? Even I got some wins in that league. What are we talking about here?